So I was always a little desperate growing up to try to be like one of the guys. It came from being the youngest of three boys. I was the youngest in my neighborhood. I was the youngest out of my friends. I just was that little dog that just always wanted to be a part of it. I noticed that being funny helped, but I was usually the brunt of the joke, and I was never funny. Part of being the youngest was getting your balls busted, which is another term for being teased. And I could never bust back because if I did, I was either told to get lost or given a beatdown. Plus, I had really inappropriate timing. It was like, I came from moments like one time I went door to door with my oldest brother collecting for his paper route. And as we were collecting from a close personal friend, I decided to do my best Carla from Cheers. And as he was being handed his gratuity, I looked up at the guy and I said, "You call that a tip?" Boom. I felt a thud to the back of my head and the house in front of me started swaying. What I did learn was to elicit a reaction by telling an outrageous lie with a straight face. I learned this from my family. It came from moments like, my other brother sat me down on the morning of my 7th birthday and proceeded to tell me the story of how I wasn't related to the family and that my father had in fact found me while he was working at the local landfill. There's another moment when I was around the same age. My friend Stephen came over to eat with me and made the mistake of asking my father what we were having for dinner. And my father just looked at him and said, "Goat brain, Stephen." And Stephen looked at me and was like, "I don't think I'm allowed to eat that." So I just always wanted to make the older guys laugh. I just didn't know how. So like around 12 years old, I started going on these vacations with my best friend Justin and his family to the beach. I like these vacations for 2 reasons. One, we were going to on vacation to the beach and not on where my family took their vacation, Iowa. And two, I got to hang out with Kevin and Eddie. Kevin was Justin's dad, and Eddie was the father of the other family that would go along with us. They were the first adults that I ever called by their first name. And they'd let us hang out with them. And Justin and I and Kevin and Eddie, we'd go fishing, we'd play golf, they'd smoke cigarettes, drink beer, tell us dirty jokes. I was like, yeah, this must be what it's like to hang out at the pool hall. And they'd bust our balls constantly. And they'd even say it, they'd even say it right afterwards, like, I'm just busting your balls a little bit. And Justin and I thought that was really cool because they were saying balls. So we started saying the phrase back and forth to each other until his mother overheard and said, "You guys don't say that. You can say bust chops, but don't say balls. It's vulgar." So we gave them ample opportunity to bust our balls all the time. Kevin caught Justin and I one morning comparing who had more hair under their armpit and proceeded to call Justin 2 hairs and me someday. I got it the most, though, for this incident that I had in the local motel, or the motel swimming pool. When I'd come up for air, my face came up in the middle of this freshly spewed vomit from one of the kids. And as I exclaimed what I saw, my voice cracked, and it came out, "Puke in the pool!" So then I heard that for the rest of the week. "Puke in the pool! Puke in the pool!" And they'd ask me questions like, "Hey, Mike, do you want to come for lunch?" Or, "Hey, Mike, let me borrow your 7-iron." I could never bust them back. I just didn't know how. I still wanted them to like me. So we played board games every night with the wives. And the game that we played the most was Pictionary. And this one night, I was sitting next to Eddie and his wife. They were on a team. And they had like one of those solo plays, and Eddie was drawing. And he takes his card, and he looks at it, and he leans over to me, and he's like, "Hey, man, what's this word?" And I look at the word, and I was like, this is my moment. It wasn't my exact thought, but my feeling was, this will get a laugh. And I summoned the straightest face that I could muster, and I looked at him and I said, McGeikin. Ma what? McGeikin. Ma what? Kevin's like, all right, we got to go. Turns the hourglass over. Eddie just sits there looking at his paper, just going, his wife's giving them the, come on, Eddie, let's go. It was at this point that a feeling came over me. I hadn't had much life experience to this point, but the intuition was that this was not going to be funny. Eddie, just draw something. I don't. The hourglass is just slowly like disappearing. Kevin is laughing. Just draw something. Hourglass evaporates. Kevin's like, time's up. Eddie throws down his pencil, goes, what the hell's a McGeikin? Who knows what a McGeikin is? His wife picks up the card and she says, the word is magician. Magician. Everyone erupts into laughter. He told me McGeikin. More laughter. Only two people that were not laughing was Eddie and myself. At this point in time, people decided like it would be a good break in the action, refresh their drinks. I looked at Eddie and I was like, I'm sorry, I was just trying to bust your, chop your ball, bust your. Well, you did. I felt horrible. I would later find out that just a couple years prior to that moment, Eddie had taught himself to read. I didn't sleep well that night. Mainly because I felt horrible, and I also had the very real fear that while I slept, Eddie was going to kill me. Ironically, I did get my laugh, and I think I endeared myself to Kevin that night. Lost touch with Eddie. And to this day, I get my balls busted every time I see Kevin. He just looks at me and is like, McGeikin.